August 1944, the Normandy breakthrough shatters German lines across France. General George Patton's Third Army drives east at unheard-of pace, 30, 40, sometimes 50 miles a day. But a silent trap tightens the spearheads, outrun their own supply lines, and fuel needles drift toward empty. Every Sherman tank gulps 5 gallons per mile, while each infantry division demands 650 tons of supplies every single day. Ammunition rations, medical kits, spare parts. Cherbourg is still crippled. Antwerp is months away, so everything must move by truck 350 miles from the Normandy beaches over roads blasted by retreating Germans. Logistics isn't background, it's the battle's fuse. Roads shattered by the German retreat turn logistics into an uphill race. At Supreme Headquarters, the math doesn't add up. Patton's tanks are literally running dry while the Third Army is outpacing every truck that tries to feed it. A chilling bulletin from the front: only 3 days of ammunition remain. Without an immediate shift in resupply, momentum will die on the road. Shermans sit silent at the tree line, not from enemy fire but from empty tanks. Inside the stifling command tent, on August 21st, Colonel Frank Ross squares his shoulders. We are losing 23% of supplies before they reach the line. The causes are plane truck accidents, Luftwaffe strikes, and vehicles failing mid-convoy. The room erupts because stopping grants the enemy time, yet moving without fuel snaps the army's backbone. If Patton halts, Germans will reinforce quickly. Advancing without supplies, his army risks collapse. Eisenhower stares at the map. The window to end the war by Christmas is closing. Fixing this requires complete convoy overhaul and proper depot establishment, but we don't have weeks. Immediate solutions required before losing strategic advantage. Eisenhower's finger traces the bold red line marking the German border. The Wehrmacht is retreating, but if they are given time to regroup, the Allies will be forced to fight through the Siegfried Line during the harsh winter. Every moment matters. That same day, 90 miles from headquarters, Technical Sergeant Raymond Kowalski sits in the cab of his GMC Jimmy truck, staring at the wreckage of another convoy. 8 trucks overturned, burned out supplies scattered along the roadside. A Luftwaffe strafing run caught them bunched together on the narrow road, turning the convoy into sitting ducks. Kowalski is 34 years old, a long-haul trucker from Pittsburgh before the war. He had no college degree, no military background, only 15 years driving steel across Pennsylvania's mountain roads in all weather and conditions. In 1943, the Army drafted him, gave him 2 weeks of training, and sent him to France. He watches good men die because nobody in command understands how trucks actually work. Lighting a cigarette, he recalls what his dispatcher back in Pittsburgh used to say: "Convoys are for show. Profits are in the spacing." If you're fascinated by the untold innovations that changed history, hit that subscribe button. The official convoy doctrine for the Red Ball Express, the emergency supply operation, is straightforward. Trucks travel in formations of 20 or more vehicles, 60 yards apart, at a maximum speed of 25 miles per hour. The golden rule: safety and strength in numbers. In the past 2 weeks, Kowalski has driven 6 supply convoys. Each convoy suffered casualties. The problem isn't the German air attacks, though those are deadly enough. The real risk occurs before the attack. 20 trucks bunched together on a rural French road create a target visible from 10 miles away. When the lead vehicle spots enemy aircraft, the entire convoy must stop, increasing vulnerability. Nobody can maneuver. The trucks ahead are trapped by the trucks behind, turning the supposed safe spacing into a perfect kill zone. Kowalski notices something else on August 23rd. His convoy is delayed at a depot for 6 hours. Some trucks are loaded faster than others, and a few impatient drivers leave on their own once their cargo is secured, disrupting the flow of the entire convoy. No coordination, no organization, yet independent drivers arrive safely at the Ford supply dump, every single one. Meanwhile, the official convoy, Kowalski joins, loses 3 trucks to a German FW-90 attack. He begins to notice a pattern: independent trucks travel spread out over hours, instead of bunched in 30-minute windows. This flexibility and dispersion turn out to be the key to survival. Individual trucks are nearly impossible for German aircraft to target effectively. The fuel and ammunition cost for attacking a single vehicle is not worth it. but a convoy is a target worth diving on. The math is simple. A convoy of 20 trucks is one target. 20 individual trucks, spaced over 4 hours of travel, are 20 separate hunting missions. Kowalski identifies critical limitations of the Germans. Aircraft, fuel, and pilots were all limited in number. He meticulously records the data in his notebook, analyzing convoy losses the average 23%, yet the handful of independent trucks he tracked suffered less than 3%. On August 25th, he takes his notebook to present the findings to Captain Dennis Hayes, paving the way for potential tactical improvements in supply operations. Kowalski, a dusty truck driver with oil-stained hands, proposed a plan to cut supply losses by 90%. Yet his superiors dismissed him. Leave the tactics to people who went to West Point. The bold idea was officially rejected in writing, but Hayes' words would echo through military logistics for the next 80 years. Captain Hayes forwards Kowalski's proposal up the chain with a note. An enlisted man suggests abandoning convoy doctrine, but the proposal is recommended for dismissal. Battalion headquarters responds immediately. Convoy procedures are based on established military doctrine. Individual vehicle operations create communication gaps, eliminate mutual support, and violate tactical protocol. Kowalski's proposal was denied, and he laughs bitterly at the absurdity of tactical protocol. He has been driving trucks since these staff officers were in high school, yet they lecture him on vehicle operations. Undeterred, on August 27th, Kowalski approaches Lieutenant Colonel Martin Burgess, Deputy Operations Officer of the Transportation Corps, to present his idea and seek practical support. Burgess listens for 10 minutes before shaking his head. He tells Ray, "I understand your logic, but what happens if I send trucks out individually and one breaks down? No escort, no support, the drivers stranded in hostile territory." He taps the map. These roads are still crawling with bypassed German units, highlighting the potential danger. Convoy security isn't just about air attacks. A quarter of strategic supplies is being lost, even though the convoys are supposed to be safe. One man wants to take his chances alone, but this isn't just a personal risk. It is Army property. Burgess appreciates the initiative, yet emphasizes that this isn't a civilian trucking company. It is military operations where discipline and strategy come first. There are reasons we do things a certain way. The room erupts when Kowalski presents his data at the driver's briefing on August 28th. Other sergeants shout him down. "You trying to get us all killed separately instead of together," another yells. "At least in a convoy we've got support." Even the other drivers think his idea is crazy. The unofficial word spreads through the motor pools. Kowalski has a death wish, wanting to play cowboy on French roads while Luftwaffe fighters hunt. His squad starts avoiding him, no longer sitting together, yet 3 people keep an eye on him. Private First Class James Booker, a driver from Detroit's automotive factories, approaches Kowalski privately, creating a pivotal moment. "I've been watching the same thing you have. Independent runs are safer." Everyone knows it, yet no one admits it. 2 other drivers, Corporal Eddie Martinez and Private Willie Jackson, quietly tell Kowalski they would volunteer for his method if it ever gets approved. It won't matter. On August 29th, Colonel Ross personally reviews the proposal and writes across the top, "Denied." Unauthorized deviation from convoy protocol is strictly prohibited. Any driver breaking the rules will face court-martial. The official army declared Raymond Kowalski's ridiculous idea dead. Yet someone else, Lieutenant General Walter Bedell Smith, Eisenhower's chief of staff, has been reading the reports and sleeps very little in late August 1944. His attention and pressure signal potential reconsideration of crucial decisions. The supply crisis is approaching catastrophic levels. Patton has been ordered to halt his advance, not by Germans but by empty fuel tanks. The British 21st Army Group is rationing ammunition. The window to exploit the German collapse is closing. Officer Smith meticulously reads everything from after-action reports of the Red Ball Express to a proposal dismissed as insane, seeking solutions to sustain the campaign. The date, August 30th. Smith walks unannounced into Colonel Ross's office, presenting his proposal for individual dispatch. When asked why it was rejected, Ross is caught off guard and explains it violates fundamental convoy doctrine. Kowalski replies, "I read the doctrine, but we are still losing a quarter of our supplies. I'm just asking why." The exchange highlights the conflict between theory and reality, discipline and innovation. Casualties were reported within expected parameters, yet General Patton's entire army was immobilized because they accepted these figures. A rapid order was issued: summon Sergeant Raymond Kowalski. 2 hours later, Kowalski stood in a headquarters tent, facing 3 full colonels and a lieutenant general ready to present a decisive solution. Kowalski wears a coverall, still smelling of diesel fuel, hasn't shaved for 2 days, and is fairly certain his military career is about to end. Smith wastes no time. "Sergeant, explain your method." "Assume I don't know anything about trucking." Kowalski takes a deep breath and replies, "Sir, the Germans can't attack what they can't predict. Right now, we dispatch 20 truck convoys at fixed schedules. The Luftwaffe knows our departure times, routes, and speeds. They just position fighters along the routes and wait. But if we load trucks as soon as they arrive at the depot, skip convoy assembly, and send them out immediately at staggered intervals, the Germans will never know when or where to intercept. Instead of 20 trucks bunched in a quarter mile, the 20 trucks are now spread over 60 meters of road across 3 hours. One broken truck does not stop the other 19. A bypassed German unit might ambush one truck, but it won't affect the entire group. In a traditional convoy, an ambush could destroy all 20 trucks." The room falls silent. Smith reviews the numbers Kowalski tracked. Conventional convoys lost 23%. Independent trucks lost only 3%. The data is too small. Ross objects, saying it is merely anecdotal evidence. Smith makes an immediate decision. "Sergeant Kowalski, you will run a 1-week trial operation with 20 trucks using your dispatch method. If losses drop below 10%, we implement the plan system-wide." Ross's face turns red with tension. Kowalski says, "Sir, if this fails, I'll take responsibility. But if it works and we didn't try, that failure is mine too." Smith looks at Kowalski. "You've got your chance, Sergeant. Don't waste it." On September 1, 1944, Kowalski stands at Allenson Supply Depot, watching 20 trucks roll in for loading. This is his test, his one chance. If it fails, men die, and he will spend the rest of the war in the stockade. If it succeeds, he might save thousands of lives. The traditional convoy method works like this. All 20 trucks wait until every vehicle is loaded, usually 4 to 6 hours. Then they depart together in formation 60 yards apart, driving at 25 miles per hour. Travel time to forward dumps is 14 hours, with total time from arrival to delivery roughly 20 hours. Kowalski's method is radically different. The first truck finishes loading at 6 o'clock, does not wait, and departs immediately. On Route 7 at standard speed, the truck operates independently. The driver looks nervous, but nods and rolls out immediately, demonstrating autonomy and increased efficiency in delivery. The second truck finishes loading at 06:18, the third at 06:33, and departs immediately. Instead of a convoy departing at noon, Kowalski dispatches 20 trucks between 0600 and 1100 hours, with 5 hours of staggered departures. Trucks are spread across 90 miles of road, traveling at optimal speeds according to conditions, rather than fixed formations, increasing delivery efficiency and reducing exposure to enemy attacks. Kowalski changes the truck speeds. Instead of the mandatory 25 miles per hour convoy crawl, he tells experienced drivers, "Run what's safe. You know these roads now. If you can do 40, do 40. If it's 30, it's 30. Transportation Corps observers are horrified at the violations. No convoy organization. Individual vehicle operations occur in the combat zone, but something remarkable happens. The trucks start arriving at forward supply dumps faster than any convoy has managed. The first vehicle reaches the 3rd Army Depot at 18:30 hours, 12.5 hours from departure, 90 minutes faster than the convoy average. The last truck arrives at UWM 45 hours the next morning. All 20 trucks deliver their cargo successfully, demonstrating the superior efficiency of Kowalski's method. Kowalski's convoy run was nearly perfect. 0 losses, 0 attacks, with only 1 minor breakdown, a flat tire that the driver changes himself and continues without delaying anyone else. The German Luftwaffe spotted 3 of Kowalski's trucks, but intercepting a single truck requires a fighter to divert from patrol, hunt one target, and expend ammunition for minimal payoff. 2 pilots don't bother. The 3rd Luftwaffe strafing pass missed its target and returned to base, avoiding fuel waste. On day 2, another 20 trucks were dispatched. 19 successful deliveries. 1 accident occurred when a driver fell asleep, but it was a single vehicle loss, not a multi-truck pileup like traditional convoys. Overall loss rate is only 5%. On day 3, 22 trucks completed 22 deliveries with 0 losses. By day 5, even the skeptical colonels watched the statistics with disbelief. Kowalski's seemingly ridiculous method cut supply losses from 23% to less than 3%, a 90% reduction, and trucks moved cargo faster than anyone thought possible. On September 7, 1944, General Smith issues the order to implement the method. All Red Ball Express operations will immediately adopt staggered individual dispatch protocols developed by Technical Sergeant Raymond Kowalski. The transformation happens almost overnight. By mid-September, the entire Red Ball Express, nearly 6,000 trucks, has completely abandoned traditional convoy operations, demonstrating the significant impact and superior efficiency of the new method. Depots load and dispatch vehicles continuously around the clock. Trucks depart every 3 to 5 minutes instead of massing into vulnerable formations. The statistics are staggering. In the final 8 weeks of Red Ball Express operations from September through November 1944, supply losses dropped to 2.7%. Delivery speed increased by 32%. The amount of supplies reaching Patton's Third Army and other frontline units more than doubled. German after-action reports reveal mounting frustration. Hunting isolated supply trucks no longer pays off. A Luftwaffe squadron commander writes in October that Allied supply trucks now operate with no predictable pattern. Individual vehicle interdiction is an ineffective use of limited air resources. The recommendation is to focus fighter operations on tactical ground support rather than logistics harassment. The Americans have made truck hunting economically impossible for the overstretched Luftwaffe. For every German fighter sent to intercept a scattered truck, that is one less aircraft defending Allied bombers or supporting ground troops. The Germans simply cannot afford this trade-off. The impact goes beyond statistics, creating strategic advantage and reducing pressure on the entire Allied forces. The Red Ball Express, operating under Kowalski's staggered dispatch method, delivered 412,193 tons of supplies in 82 days of operation. That amount of ammunition, fuel, and equipment was enough to keep 6 Allied armies advancing across France and into Germany. Patton's Third Army alone received enough fuel to drive from Normandy to the German border, demonstrating the strategic impact of Kowalski's method. Historians will later argue whether Allied logistics or combat prowess won the war in Europe. The answer is both. Logistics made the combat possible, and Kowalski's method made logistics sustainable. The system spreads beyond the Red Ball Express. By November, trucking operations across all Allied theaters are adopting staggered dispatch. The British Eighth Army in Italy tests the method and reports similar results. Even Pacific Theater logistics planners begin studying the method for island-hopping operations. In late October, a German staff officer captured near Ain is interrogated about supply operations. When asked about Allied trucking, he shakes his head in frustration, demonstrating the method's effectiveness and unpredictability. "We can't target what we can't predict," he says through a translator. "Your trucks are like ghosts now, everywhere and nowhere. We stopped even trying to intercept them because it's a waste of fuel we don't have." That quote quickly finds its way into intelligence summaries and eventually reaches Eisenhower's desk. The Supreme Commander circles it and writes a note to Smith, highlighting its strategic importance. This sergeant's method forced the Germans to concede the logistics battle and recommended formal recognition. On November 18, 1944, 2 days after the Red Ball Express officially ended operations, Technical Sergeant Raymond Kowalski received the Bronze Star Medal for exceptional meritorious service in support of combat operations. The citation specifically mentions Kowalski's innovative tactical logistics methods, significantly reducing supply losses and enhancing operational effectiveness. In 1946, Kowalski returns to Pittsburgh and goes back to driving trucks, the same job he had before the war. No book deals, no speaking tours, just a bronze star in a drawer, and memories of a few weeks in France when his crazy idea actually worked. The military does not forget Kowalski's innovation. In 1947, the U.S. Army Transportation Corps formally adopts staggered dispatch protocols as official doctrine. The method becomes required teaching at Fort Lee, Virginia, where every logistics officer learns about the Pittsburgh truck driver who rewrote convoy theory. His innovation is applied across multiple major operations: the Korean War, the Berlin Airlift, Vietnam, Desert Storm, Iraq, and Afghanistan, demonstrating lasting strategic value. American logistics operations now use variations of Kowalski's method. Modern military supply convoys no longer mass into large, vulnerable formations. Instead, they operate with dispersed timing, varied routes, and unpredictable patterns. This principle has evolved with technology. Today's military trucks have GPS tracking, satellite communication, and encrypted coordination systems, enhancing accuracy and coordination efficiency. The core concept is to make the enemy's interdiction efforts economically inefficient, exactly as Kowalski recorded in his notebook while observing convoys burn. Civilian trucking learned from this method as well. Modern logistics systems, just-in-time delivery, staggered scheduling, and distributed warehouse networks trace their intellectual lineage to the same strategic insight. Bunching creates vulnerability, while spacing provides resilience. Companies like Amazon, FedEx, and UPS dispatch vehicles continuously throughout the day, rather than in scheduled waves. This method is more efficient, harder to disrupt, and scales better. They probably don't know it, but this method was invented by a truck driver during World War II. In 2003, the U.S. Army Transportation Museum at Fort Lee opened an exhibit about the Red Ball Express. There is a section dedicated to Raymond Kowalski, displaying his notebook, where he tracked convoy losses and performed calculations. Next to it is a photo of him standing by his GMC Jimmy truck, cigarette in hand, looking exactly like what he was, a working-class driver who understood his profession better than the experts. The placard reads, "Sometimes the best innovations come not from commanders or theorists, but from the people actually doing the job." Kowalski died in 1983 at age 73. His obituary in the Pittsburgh's Post-Gazette mentioned his Bronze Star, but did not explain what he had done to earn it. Kowalski was just a retired truck driver, a veteran, a quiet man who'd done his part. Yet in every military logistics course taught today, in every dissertation on World War II, supply operations, and in every analysis of how the Allies sustained their advance across Europe, there is a footnote about this sergeant who proved that sometimes the craziest idea is just the truth nobody wanted to hear. Kowalski's method didn't just cut supply losses by 90%, it changed how the modern world moves everything from military equipment to consumer packages. It is still used today, still saving lives, and still making the enemy's job economically impossible. All because one truck driver from Pittsburgh refused to accept that convoys were the only way.